Thank you, everybody, and thanks for being here tonight. We have a real treat. I'm going to just say a few words before I welcome our guests to the stage. We have two guests of honor tonight, as you know. Genevieve Nnaji has received tremendous accolades for her work in films like E.J. The Journey and Half of a Yellow Sun, which you might remember played here a few years ago at TIFF. She is widely celebrated as a leading lady of Nollywood and the face of African cinema. And I have to say, I've seen her in action in Lagos and what an international superstar she is and how much attention she attracts there. Genevieve is not just an actress. She moved into producing in 2014 by starting the company The Entertainment Network, or also known as 10. And under the 10 banner, she produced her first feature film, Road to Yesterday, which she also stars in. And this was a highly acclaimed film and big business as well when it came out last year. In addition to Genevieve, we've got Kunle Afolayan, who is a boundary-pushing director, producer, and actor. His sophomore film, The Figurine, is often regarded as one of the films that sort of kickstarted a new era of filmmaking in Nigeria. He has since released such critically acclaimed films as Phone Swap, October 1, and his latest film, The CEO, which I think there's a private screening of here in Toronto. Genevieve and Kunle's individual work, both in front of and behind the camera, have really broken down industry barriers in Nollywood and beyond. So we're really thrilled to have them here tonight. We're thrilled that you're here to see them. So let's please welcome Genevieve and Kunle, please.
This is water. Thank you.
Thank you for being here and sharing your time with us. I wanted to reassure everybody in the audience that I'm going to ask some questions and we'll watch a few clips and have a little bit of a chat. But also, very much I want everybody in here to get a chance to ask a question. So we're going to leave plenty of time for you to ask your questions to Genevieve and Kunle. So please start thinking of your good questions now. I'm going to start with a big question, which is, what does the term Nollywood mean to you, and do you think there's a new Nollywood?
Good evening, everyone, and thank you for coming, to this session. To me, Nollywood means, it's another name that represents Nigeria film industry. But I know this is a name that came, about 20-something years ago, like 22 years ago, when the era of video started in Nigeria, when people were making use of the new technology, which is digital cameras, to make films. But whichever way you want to look at it, it's just a new given name, that represents the country, film industry. Yeah.
Okay. And Genevieve?
Nollywood is simply home for me.
Okay.
Nollywood is pretty much what I live, think, and breathe. It's an entertainment industry for a lot of people, but for me, it's life. It's all I know. It's what I love. It's what I enjoy, and it encompasses a lot of people who are very passionate about art and creating art and film, and yeah.
So maybe how do you think, when we say something like 22 years ago, I think the term Nollywood meant maybe it's a story, a comedy about your mother-in-law, and it's really funny, and it's quite low budget, and it's on VHS, and it might be sold straight to the market, and that doesn't represent what the Nigerian film industry is today. So what's changed over the decades?
Before the 22 years was an industry,
Yep.
Of course, and that was why I said the term Nollywood was never in existence then,
Right.
but there was an industry. We had filmmakers who were making film on big screen, for big screen, on 35, 16mm print and all of that. And most of the stories that were told then are pretty much, more serious films. Of course, you will see all of the cultural elements about the mother-in-law and all of that in some of these films, but it was more of a big deal because, it's like doing a feature film when if you're shooting on 35 prints, it takes more time, it takes more budget, it requires more hands and all of that. But we're still telling pretty much the same story, telling African stories to the rest of the world. And when Nollywood came, it makes it easier, it makes it quicker. Digital technology, right now you don't need Nagra to do sound, you don't need all of those big stuff. With a small recorder, you can, put all of these things together. And it was a phenomenon, and everybody embraced it, and it was easier to tell all of the stories, together. So there was an era before Nollywood, before the name Nollywood, right. And right now, some people think there's something called the new Nollywood, right. And that came when a film like Figurine, which happens to be my film, was shot in 2009. And before then, people would shoot primarily for DVD and VHS, straight to DVD. But when Figurine came, we tested the cinemas, the available screens, and the film did well in cinemas. So it opened up distribution opportunities. Instead of concentrating on VCD, you first go to cinema, then explore the other distribution channel. And after that, a lot of people decided that, okay, we won't compromise on production value. We'll still tell our stories about mother-in-law, but we'll always be considerate, of production value.
I think the difference is really, for me, is aesthetics changed. Back then, we had our attention, and what we focused on and what we prioritized was different from what we prioritize now. And as much as we tried to work, give or take, we worked with what we had, what was dealt us, and we did the best with what we had available to us. But now there's a greater focus in improving in the quality in the kind of films that we do, because we're the attention has kind of shifted to cinema. And so there's a different kind of quality that cinema attracts, especially if you are trying to fight issues like piracy. So you want to kind of focus on where the money is coming from, where you want to get the money back, how do you reach a bigger audience? And really the only way you can do that is through cinema. And how do you get to cinema? How do you get, like when your movie comes on a bigger screen, hopefully you don't lose the quality of your film. So in order not to do that, you have to improve on the quality you actually shoot on. So I think it's the mindset that has changed. That's the difference between old Nollywood and new Nollywood. It's the same people. We have new people, we have new talents, we have new creatives coming in, which is an amazing thing. And I think I'm very proud that people are paying attention to the industry and actually want to be a part of an industry that, back in the day, they would not have been proud of. Right. And I think old Nollywood, however you view it, has done a lot to actually attract people to want to be a part of it in this new era. Yeah. So I really think it's just the nuances and the aesthetics that has changed.
I wanted to maybe go ahead and show this clip from the Figurine, because I think it is emblematic of, it looks more like Scorsese than it does, VHS down at the market. It's very much showing, I guess I'll set it up very quickly, that it's Sola and Femi are going to return to the forest where they first found the figurine. Okay. Do you want to say anything else about this before we watch the clip?
I think we should watch it, and,
okay. And we can talk after. Okay, it's just a minute. So can we play the figurine clip, please? that doesn't look like that's pretty skilled camera mise-en-scene. You know, I know your dad was a filmmaker and director, but also know you studied in New York. So where did all this sort of influence start to coalesce for you to start making films that look like that?
Daddy?
Well, film storytelling, it's something that, you know, comes naturally with Africans, you know, but the means to tell it usually is the challenge. And when I decided that I wanted to, I mean, I used to be a banker, and in 2005, I resigned, and I said, look, it's film. I want to start making film. And I wanted to tell stories that are not African stories, but in a different way. I also looked at what was obtainable in the 70s and 80s, the kind of films that the likes of my father and some of his contemporaries were, you know, the kind of films and stories they were telling. And I also looked at the present, you know, generation, you know, the Nollywood type of films. And I said, okay, I look at what is missing, and I realized that a lot of attention, you know, was not paid to details. And I said, okay, what if we bring that in? But my creative idea, my directorial approach, a lot of time comes to me naturally. After reading a script, of course, the script to me is a guide. I look at it. And also in Nigeria, a country where we don't use templates, we don't have studios where you know, the set is already created.
We don't have a blueprint on how we do
You
films.
know,
We just make films.
Yeah, so when you read a script, you need to start thinking of your plotting and, you know, sometimes your camera angle. I know the onus rests on the DOP or the cinematographer to do most of these things, but for me as a director, it has to be a collaborative effort. And some of these visuals I see once I get to location. So I go a bit away from the script. Yeah, of course, the script might say, okay, Shola arrives with Femi, they meet with these guys, and that is how the script will put it a lot of the time. Yeah. And for me, I was like, okay, I want to do it in one take. And I remember this scene, you know, it took us time to put together. You know, you need to use the 360-degree track and shoot it in a way that you don't reveal, you know, the tracks. You know, the framing was difficult, pulling off focus, even with all those minimal resources that, you know, we had. So some of these things come to me really naturally. Yep.
And you found people were open to changing the way they worked a bit or trying new things when you...
Yeah, I mean, I work with the kind of crew I work with. I've worked with them on several projects, and we seem to, I call them the winning team because, you know, we seem to be very familiar with one another. And as a director, you know, there's nothing like working with people who share the same vision, you know, as yourself. And we usually would do detailed pre-production. When your pre-production is detailed, then, you know, when you get a set, you know, the stress is minimal. You don't have to sweat too much, you know, in making things happen. You know, but the creative side, I don't say to them, this is what it is and this is what it should be. I might wake up tomorrow and say, look, we need to change that scene because I just think it should be shot differently and all of that, yes.
Okay. And Genevieve, I know when you started acting, you were quite young and started doing films when you were at university and maybe did some work earlier than that even. But can you talk a little bit about what it was like back in those days and the sort of the first films you were making? Was it these very low budget films or was it more ambitious work? What was it like?
Well, I mean, my mindset was completely different from when I started at 8. If I knew things were going to happen the way they're happening now, I probably wouldn't have started at 8. Because I was in Ripples, which was a mainstream soap opera that was really, really famous and very successful at the time. And it was just, I thought, you know, acting was a matter of going on screen and doing something you enjoy doing or something you feel you can do very easily. And I had had a lot of practice in my little home that I built for myself with my lesson teacher's blackboard and my mom's very precious wrappers. But you know, I had my friends, a group of them. I only found out later on that they were in my head, but it was.
That's good to act with, maybe.
Yeah, but I had a lot of practice. So watching people on TV, and I saw actors that I admired, and I thought, oh, this is so amazing. And then you're talking after them, and you're mimicking them, and you think you can do this, and then you go on set, and you're thinking, okay. So I remember my first day on set when I was 8, and I had gotten the part after the audition. So this was okay. We had done the rehearsal, we had taken the lines, and it was time to act, me and my 2 other little friends. And I was kind of waiting for everyone to leave so we could do what we do best and just kill this thing. And nothing happened. I'm like, well, guys, this is the real deal. This is not a drill. We have to work. The director, Zebedru, at the time, I remember he was like, we're not going anywhere. So it kind of occurred to me that I'd been practicing wrong, and I was supposed to have an audience, this bunch of people behind the camera. So I think I froze. Wow. So I've frozen in front of the camera because people are behind it. It takes a while to get out of that, and I started off a shy actor. Okay.
But you were 8. It's okay. You're allowed to be shy.
Trust me. And then I was 19, and it didn't change.
Okay.
So, but then what has happened is that I get comfortable the minute I get into a role. And it doesn't matter what kind of lens is in front of me, because I can't see it. That's up to the director and the producer. My job is to actually just get lost, which I enjoy doing, because I think I enjoy being anybody else but myself. And that comes to me, really naturally, because I feel at home. And I work with people who, especially directors, who are willing to be patient with you. And that was what I had back then. That's kind of different, because I took a lot of directions. And I love to take orders. Don't take that wrongly. But I love to take orders from directors who, I like to be told what to do, because I feel in that way I create a diversity, I create a difference. There's like, if I take an idea from your head, it's different from an idea from his head, which will make me a better actor, because I'm going to come out portraying 2 completely different characters, because I'm pretty much bringing out ideas from 2 different people's heads. So I think that's the difference. Now, what's happening now is that people expect you to know everything, because they think, oh, you have enough experience, you just act. What are you doing? Have you read the lines? Just act. But I still like being told what to do, and I'm kind of in that position where I still want to be 8 years old again, and just let loose. So I'm kind of hoping that things get bigger in Nollywood. The sets get bigger, the cameras get bigger, the filters get, more refined. You know all the technical terms. But basically, we work with a bigger project on a bigger set, and the opportunities are endless, and just so that we can be babies again.
I think we're going to take a look at one of your breakthrough roles. You've been in more than 80 films, I think, which is just...
I'm not counting.
Amazing. Somebody from IMDb is counting that somewhere. But I think we're going to see a clip from EJ, The Journey. EJ, The Journey, which is mostly set in the US. So that was... kind of interesting at the time, and I think it shows, an appetite for Nigerian stories that are crossing over different places in the world. So in this clip, you're playing Chioma, who is a woman who's come to America to oversee her sister's trial for a murder she hasn't committed.
Yeah, which she should have paid for, but okay.
Okay. So in this scene, your sister's lawyer takes you to an American bar. So can we play the EJ clip, please?
So is this like the place you used to play?
The place I played when they let me. Barely had 4 walls. Things went good between Anya and her husband. The witness witness I saw today claimed she was having an affair with Michael. But what I don't understand is, she said that your sister knew about the affair and had accepted it. Does that sound like something Anya will let fly?
I don't know. Some men in Nigeria take more than one wife. And I'll have you know that the world is full of happy people who endure things Americans cannot imagine.
Maybe, but the day after tomorrow, the jury box is going to be filled with Americans.
The only revenge Anya ever wanted is the same kind you want. Success.
To revenge then. Our kind.
And then he likes black women.
I think that's an interesting one to talk about, to lead into talking about the international audience for Nigerian stories that are told at home and abroad. And, you know, it's amazing that Toronto's got this program of Nigerian films this year, selling out audiences. People are here. Because I guess Nollywood may have started when films were made by Nigerians for Nigerians, and then it became films by Nigerians for a Pan-African audience. And I think now it can be truly global. But do you think it's reaching people globally enough, or how can we get these films out to more people?
Well, you know what? I'm going to speak from experience. I think my success as an actress came from outside in. That's what I believe. I think I knew about people's appreciation of me from emails that I got from foreigners.
Really?
And people who lived outside. And that's when I was kind of confused. I'm like, how do you even know me? You're all the way in some country, and it was always somewhere in the Caribbean. So I think we traveled far and wide before we even realized it. And even though the first set of movies that came out of Nollywood were language movies, they were done in Yoruba and Igbo in that language. And we thought, oh, by the time Yoruba people were watching Igbo movies and Igbo people were watching Yoruba movies, we thought we had gone global. And we're like, yes, so let's speak English so everybody can, you know. And nobody was thinking about mainstream, about actually crossing outside of Africa, how much more outside of the continent. And so what's happening, or what has happened, has been phenomenal, and it's been a breakthrough, but we've really had to play catch up. And the truth of the matter is, we want to embrace it, but it's kind of moved really, really fast. And what's happening now is that we're trying to adjust and trying really technically catch up. And we can't do it on our own, because you see, right now it's out of our hands. And what's happening is that we need support, and we need the backing of people who kind of are used to, you know, having their products really travel this far. And plus, we need the financing as well. We need the backing.
So you think right now, if people are seeing in the Caribbean watching Nigerian films, that's usually pirated copies. It's not going through official channels where the creatives can get some money back.
No, we're not getting the money.
Yeah.
Well, for me, that's an area where, you know, most times I get very disturbed and, you know, a bit touchy, because we're not, I don't know if we have studios, studio owners, or, distributors or sales agents in the crowd. But the truth is, most of these films are made out of, you know, I mean, labor of love. The finances, the funding, you know, most of the time is sourced internally. Some of us try to tell, you know, stories with universal appeal. You put all of the technical know-how, but at the end of the day, you know, the film ends up in Flatbush, you know, with the Africans, you know, bootlegged, the Caribbean, the copies in Caribbean. There's no return on investment, you know, from all of these films that people get to see abroad. And when internet streaming and all of that started, then people will pick it and put on YouTube, someone who is not authorized to. For me, I'm waiting for that time when a film will be done, it's a good film, and it gets mainstream distribution, you know. I'm very glad that this focus, city-to-city focus by TIFF, you know, is happening now. I think we should give TIFF a round of applause. I think it's a great thing because this is the first time that Nigerian cinema will be celebrated, you know, in this, and TIFF is one of the biggest, you know, film festival in the world. But I've always been very bitter because a lot of times when you make film, okay, look at Figurine, the clip we just saw. When I made Figurine, I thought, okay, that is the best thing that has happened to African cinema. And I sent the film to all these film festivals. They would request for screener and all of that. And they'll say, oh, the film looks great, but that's one down. Another one will pick it and say, amazing story, great acting, you know, but. So I'm like, okay, what is this but? You know, can you like come up? But they will never, you know, tell you what it is. Festival is one, you know, is a platform where a film gets celebrated. Sometimes you might be lucky and you get a sales deal, you know, buyers, you know, through that, you know, means. But a lot of times it's difficult. I took Figurine around a lot of festivals, and when you get to a distributor or sales agent, the first question they'll ask is, so who is in the film? And you'll be like, I have Ramsey Noah, I have Genevieve. I'll be like, who's that? You know, you know, and I'm like, okay, maybe we should be making the film for our people, or concentrate on, you know, your immediate market, and maybe from there, you know, the film will get out. So I believe that is what has given birth to something like this that TIFF is doing. We're being, you know, spotlighted from Africa, you know, to come here and showcase what we have. But sincerely, we need distribution, and that is lacking majorly. And if we don't have that, you know, there will always be compromise because, you know, if you put funds into making film, you need to get the money back.
I believe, for me, I know it's a business. At the end of the day, investors are going to put their money in somewhere they feel they can get their money back. And they probably don't believe that there is a market for our kind of content. But there is.
There is, clearly. People want to watch it.
Because we tell one story. And everybody can identify with the kind of stories we tell because we tell our story. And our story is quite peculiar to almost every country that has a culture. Everybody has experienced heartbreak. Everybody has that wicked mother-in-law. Everybody knows what hurt is. Everybody knows what pain is. Everybody knows what classism is. There's classism everywhere. There is, you know, the disparity between the poor and the rich. And we pretty much tell stories that people can identify with, regardless of where you're from, language, color, whatever. And I think that's what they need to understand. We're trying to explain that we are the same. We tell the same kind of story, just in a different kind of way because it's who we are. And I'm happy to just be in Nollywood. I just need, I hope that we can have some synergy where we give an opportunity to actual thespians and gifted creative people to showcase their talents and their gift. And even if there are situations where I've watched a lot of movies, who has noticed that the recent movies, almost everything, not just movies, series, you must hear Lagos or Nigeria. There's always that drop of Lagos or that drop of name or that drop of Ayo or Chichi. There's always a reference to Nigeria in some way. In other words, you are aware of our existence. So next time you're going to kill Superman, try and kill him. What's the other?
Yeah,
what's the The Avengers, the one that did the recent,
Avengers.
and yeah, we're back.
Panther. Yeah.
Where they built Lagos, you know? And I thought, oh, you know, I actually felt proud. I'm like, oh my God, this was Lagos. But then I kind of cringe when I find a black man who is like, listen, our accent is distinct. You know, I love all my Kenyans and South Africans, but you can't sound like, you can't get a Haitian man to sound like a Nigerian. You can't get anybody who's not Nigerian to sound like a Nigerian. Just get a Nigerian.
I agree.
It's just get a Nigerian, and it does. Just little things like that puts us on the map. You don't even have to shoot in Nigeria. It's okay to build your set outside, but at least put some authenticity to what you're doing, and little things like that really goes a long way. Thank you. Yeah, I agree.
Wow. I think we could maybe watch a clip from Road to Yesterday on that in that thinking, because I think it is a very authentic relationship we see on screen, and it's something people can identify with, but yet it's local, it's authentic. So let's look at Road to Yesterday clip, if we can.
I have been a good wife. All my life, I have stayed faithful to you. I have been true.
And all I hear from your lips are lies. I don't even know this woman you're talking about, this so-called good and faithful wife.
I'm no liar. Izuchukwu, you can't call me that. I won't accept it.
I don't care what you accept or don't accept.
What about you?
What about me?
You sit here and you call me a liar. That you don't recognize me. You're not saying to yourself, Izuchukwu Udoka.
I never lied to you about who I was or who I am.
No, please don't give me that crap. I always knew.
Always knew what?
Even before we were married, you thought you were slick. But you never fooled me. Not even for a second.
What are you talking about?
Just stop. You're here pointing accusing fingers at me, judging me. When all the while, you're the one who's never been faithful to me.
And is this film available on Netflix? Is that true? Yes. So
Yes.
that's a new...
Good, I can never get used to what you might.
You look great. But, you know, something like Netflix, is that a big deal to get films out in a legitimate channel that I can watch in the UK and people can watch all over the world?
I think it's a big deal to get more than one option of distribution. I think we welcome Netflix. We've had multi-choice. We've had Iroko TV. We need more.
Yeah.
We need more platforms. So as you can see, we're good at churning out movies and content. You know, we're famous for that. But we definitely need more options of distribution. And I'm really grateful that the likes of Netflix have come in, and I'm grateful for Africa Magic, who kind of partnered with us in this film. And you know, it's welcoming, because then you're encouraged to take a bigger risk than you did before. So yeah, that's what I think.
Yeah, I mean, I totally agree. A lot of times, you know, people see clips of our films, you know, especially when they're released, when the trailers are released, and people start asking, okay, so how do we see this film? When are you premiering? You know, and a lot of times, when you're premiering, you are investing more money, all right? And when you put all of this money, I mean, how do you recoup it back? But when I got, you know, when I got a call from Netflix, and they're like, oh, we're interested in October 1, and, you know, we went back and forth, negotiated, and, you know, the deal happened. It brought something different, you know, to African cinema, because then what I sold to them was US and Europe rights, and then you have people calling you from Mexico, you have people calling you from some weird areas, you know, saying, oh, we just saw your film on Netflix. I mean, on Netflix. Oh, and when we did CEO, immediately CEO came out. If you go online, and you see most of the posts that we've put there, people are asking, oh, so when is this on Netflix? That is one safe channel, all right? Of course, a lot of people put things on YouTube, but people also illegally put content on YouTube, and you now have to start, clicking to report and all of those, and it takes time. Before you know it, more than 20 people already, saw the film. You've lost money, and all of that. So we need, of course, more of Netflix, and other distribution, distribution
Netflix
channel.
is amazing.
Yeah.
I also love, Kunle, that you are really smart with product placement and working with companies. I think when you did Phone Swap, you had a deal with BlackBerry, and you've got...
It's well connected.
With the CEO, you had your Air France, you had the first ever in-flight film premiere.
That I was not invited to.
Oh.
You were not in the country, darling.
Yeah.
How does he know my itinerary?
Yeah. But do you see that as a way to make that investment back, or?
Well, thank God for an avenue like that, because, when you live in a country where, or you find yourself in a situation where there seems to be no way, then you have to start thinking out of the box, and create your own ways. So from the beginning, even from the days of figuring, I try to look at the Hollywood model. And really, I got all of that from where I was coming from, because, my father was a filmmaker. And I saw, after my father passed, and even before he passed, he's always lamenting, because he will sweat and put a lot of money in film. He would take money from the bank, like I do now. And at the end of the day, they rarely, make all of this money back. And I saw his correspondent, letters with people he was owing, the cousin he took money from to make film, the bank he borrowed that from. And I said, no, I want to be a successful filmmaker, all right? And why do we have, and when I worked in the bank, I worked in corporate affairs. And that opened my eyes to, how the corporate world runs. All of these corporate organizations have budgets for adverts, for publicity, for PR, and all of that. And they're always looking for where to key, these things. And they shoot adverts, regular adverts, which they will pay for, pay to put on TV, and I'm like, okay, why not if we incorporate your adverts just like they do in Hollywood film? And some of them, and in doing your research, you need to, of course, also convince them that it's not going to be it's not going to be in people's face. It will be subtle. Those are the languages you use, so that, but sincerely, I have seen a lot of Hollywood films and Bollywood film. In fact, a typical example of one film that gave me motivation was this Indian film, where there's this guy who is a superhero, and every morning he comes out, he runs faster than a horse. And there's this little boy who is always looking at him, and he will call the boy and say, oh, you've seen me again. Okay, take candy. So every time the boy sees, because so the boy doesn't reveal his secret, he will give the boy candy. And one day, he was flying more than, faster than the bird. And the boy came and said, I've seen you again. And he said, okay, take. And the boy said, no, I don't want candy. He said, okay, what do you want? The boy said, no. He said, okay, what do you want? The boy said, anything bigger. And the guy superhero said, okay, I'll give you Bonvita. And the boy said, Bonvita? And he said, do you want to have power like me? And he said, that is like. And the next scene, they opened the door, Bonvita is right there on the center table, in the room. That is what pays for that film, all right? And they don't care what the audience feels about it. As long as the story is good, is well implemented, then it's fine. But in my case, I've worked with brands that would like to do things within the film and around the film. October 1, for example, is a period film set in Nigeria in 1960. But we were still able to get Toyota, we were able to get Guinness, and we were able to get like 3 other companies that were not even in existence in Nigeria in 1960. And what did we do? They felt, okay, somehow you are a brand and we want to key, to your brand, and we want to tap into the mileage your name will give, the brand. And Toyota put money, not just product. We got Guinness. Guinness wasn't existent. Guinness put product, and they also put money, and a few other brand. With CEO, it was even more interesting because Air France. I mean, CEO is a movie, is a Pan-African film about these executives who are coming to Nigeria for a retreat. Contesting to be CEO of a multinational telecom company, and naturally, they will fly in from wherever they're coming from. And, that was the point. I met Air France, and they said, oh, Mr. Afolayan, we like what you're doing. Can we meet? And we met. I sold the idea to them, and they bought it. And for me to give them the proper mileage, I had to change a few things. There is a character that is meant to come from Joburg, but we changed it that it comes from Paris. What does it change? It doesn't affect the film in any way. He still flies. He flies, and that helps the film. And he doesn't take nothing. He added value to it. And when the film was ready, they saw it, and they're like, okay, can we try what has never been done before? Can we do premiere on the plane? And we started planning it, and it was phenomenal. We turned the the Lagos airport to a red carpet venue. We took a DJ to the boarding gate, and we had a bar at the boarding gate.
Okay.
And on the flight, this was a flight with 250 people, and we flew to Paris. And after the film was screened, we had a curtain call and all of that on the plane. It was phenomenal.
It's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, well done.
Thank you.
I think we do have a clip of the CEO, so
Yeah.
I thought it'd be nice to watch. It's a short clip, and it's 5 executives from this company are coming together to see who can be the new CEO.
The new CEO.
So can we play the clip
Donald
from
Trump.
the CEO? Yeah. Oh no.
I take it you directors all know each other previously.
We've all met at company retreats in the past before, well, except Rika.
Yes, I only joined Transwire Joburg last year from Standard Telecoms.
Standard? The rival network?
Ah, yes, I remember we headhunted you. And already a contender for the top job in Africa's biggest markets.
Hiyo ni kusema tu wanajuana.
Au najua kazi yangu. I picked up a bit of Swahili back in Tanzania in the 90s.
That white building over there? That's the official residence for the CEO of Transwire Nigeria.
Nice. It's a castle fit for a king.
Or a queen.
I remember. Frank threw some lively cocktail parties every day.
Property in that neck of the woods must be expensive.
Well, you can get in the door if you have 2 or 3 million to spend.
Naira.
No, US, dollars. But these days, you've got property companies popping up, like Adrian. They allow middle or low-income earners to get on the property ladder through some kind of installment payment plan. So, Lisa, now wow, are you coming from an all-night vigil in church or what? Just joking. Where are you from exactly?
A bit of everywhere, sir. My father was half Nigerian and half Cameroonian, and my mother is half Kenyan and half Namibian.
Wow, Viva Africa.
Viva. So how did you end up working at Global HQ?
I applied, sir. And my master's in human resources wasn't exactly surplus to the requirements, sir.
I see. So, you've been privy to my personal file then?
Strictly confidential, sir.
The least you can do is reveal to me how thick it is. 9 inches.
Kola,
Huh?
stop pestering her.
Just joking.
Sorry, Lisa. He will tease you to death.
By the way, sir, you're only 3 inches. Your file, that is.
Touche.
Sorry, man.
Very good. I thought we could start opening up for some questions if anybody has one. We have a microphone that we can bring around. We've got one in the lady at the poke. Oh, there's the mic right there.
Hi. My question exactly, you already talked about like some of the distribution hassles. Can you shed more light on that? Like what distribution hassles you guys encountered and like your potential or suggested solutions for these?
For distribution?
Yeah.
Are you a distributor? Or a sales agent? Okay, all right. Look, distribution for African film, I mean, independent African film is a major challenge, okay? Which was, some of these things we already touched, okay? And it's simple. You have a content, it's like you have a product and you want to put it out there. How do you put it out there and to where? In our case, you can't just stay on the street because, you know, how many copies will you possibly sell? But naturally, you have different platforms for the film distribution. You have the cinema, so you have the online streaming, you have DVDs, you know, you have television, you have pay TV, you have all of these things. And we're saying that for our films, it is difficult. I don't know if you've ever seen any Nigerian film that opens in cinemas all around the world. I have never seen it, okay? And I have never even seen a Nigerian film that opened in maybe 20 cinemas in France. I have never seen it, all right? But we have gotten to the point where we put as much effort and as much, you know, element, you know, that makes the film international standard, gives it commercial appeal and all of that. And all of these things are still not working. I know why. The reason is because you have different territories, you know, when it comes to film. And, you know, what bothers me, which is why I made this film The CEO, is, okay, even if I can't conquer Europe and I can't conquer America, why can't I conquer Africa? All right? And because of that, I came up with a story that celebrates and, you know, embraces East, West, and South of Africa. All right, and Nigeria represents, you know, the West. I have Morocco that represents the North. I have South Africa that represents the South. I have Kenya that represents the East, and I have Ivory Coast, which is Francophone, but of course West Africa. And I expect, okay, by the time this film is done, we should have the film open in all the cinemas in Africa. But the truth is, up till now, we only have. Yeah, we sold the TV rights in Africa to Mnet because they even came on board before the film was shot. We have interest from Côte d'Ivoire, but the other territories, you know, it's been, and this is because the filmmaker is also the one trying to push the film. All right, it's not like we don't know what to do, but you know, when you've tried, you know, what to do and it's not just yielding, sometimes it's really frustrating. And we're here in TIFF, and I'm just hoping one distributor will come and say, look, you know, we believe in what you're doing. Let's do stuff together. It's a nightmare, but I still believe that this initiative, if we have more of this kind of spotlight where, you know, our actors are being celebrated, the films, you know, are being celebrated, then maybe people will start having, you know, a change of mind. And if you have solution, you can also suggest it.
I think it's gone are the days when we used to be able to make money off of DVDs and CDs, which is how we made money. It was really depending on what quantity of DVDs you sold. And then you can literally count how many going to my brother's cartons of CDs that were sold. But then the pirates made sure that didn't last long. And that was a major problem. But there's one thing we still have, eyeballs. But we don't have enough screens for these eyeballs, basically cinema. If we did have enough cinemas like Hollywood does, we would be good because we'd have the numbers. Because, I mean, Africa has, forget Nigeria, Africa has enough people to be able to buy tickets. And it's, the tickets don't even have to be expensive. They can be as cheap as you want. But then they fill out the cinema, and you can make your money back in a week if all goes well. And if all goes well, you can make it back in a day. That's why Hollywood will go into cinema and not even bother about piracy. That's how they were able to conquer, because they had enough cinemas to, recoup whatever investment they had put in. We don't have the cinemas in Africa right now. We don't have them in Nigeria. We don't have enough. And we hope that we're able to do that, because when we have money coming back into the business, we can make bigger and better movies. We can put the money back. But now what's happening is that because distribution is on shaky grounds, it's very far from certain. We are being smart about how much we spend on producing our content, which means we are shortchanging ourselves. We are compromising in places that we shouldn't compromise as artists. And that's really telling really bad on at the end of the day, you can say what you like about Nollywood and its quality, but the truth is, it's just quality, it's just camera, it's just technicalities. We have the talent, we have the gift, we have the heart. But all of these other things can be put in place. There's certain things that money can buy, but at least cameras, cinemas, building them, distribution, that's money. We have the hearts, we have the talents, we have the gifts. We just need believers to invest in the industry and help us grow into an industry that we know we're capable of.
Right. We'll go to this lady first.
Hello, good evening. Yeah, to my very, very respected director, Mr. Kunle, and also gorgeous Miss Genevieve. It's more of a comment, per se. A movie, I don't know that we should focus so much on worldwide distribution just yet, because I feel like the movie that will speak globally will speak globally, regardless of having international or Hollywood actors in it. I feel like a movie that has Genevieve and Ramsey-Nouah will sell, if it's meant to sell. I'll take Slumdog Millionaire, for example. I don't know that it had a major Hollywood person, but yet it went to the Oscars. I feel like we can do that, but I don't know that we should focus so much on trying to get there, because, to be honest, we have gotten here without even getting there. We're at TIFF, Rising Stars, and we're at TIFF 2016 without really getting worldwide distribution. Somehow, our in-house work, with all our little productions, have gotten us to this point where they're like, these people look like they're serious. We have really tiny budgets that have come all the way. We have shoots that will take 2 weeks that have come here. So I feel like we should, exactly what you said, we have been shortchanging ourselves in terms of production quality. How about we try to start focusing on that? I feel like we've gotten enough attention for the government and real good investors to know that this is something that can actually increase our GDP to a significant amount. I feel like we should keep focusing on doing what we have to do. When the accolade comes, it comes. I feel like Lagos City alone is over 21 million people. If you make your money from Lagos alone, you're good. I don't know that, building more cinemas, yes, all that is great, but I just feel like if we keep working, I just have so much faith in this industry that how far we've come, we didn't anticipate it. It is growing at an enormous rate. We're literally exploding before our eyes, but I feel like if we keep at it, we'll get there. I just don't want us to get so carried away and lose what got us here in the first place. I want us to get this distribution, Fox, Paramount, all that good stuff, but we know that it's going to come at a price.
Amen.
If we don't hold on to what got us here, we will sell ourselves out in the name of trying to sell out tickets.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So that's my thing.
Okay, can I?
Okay, so we're going to respond. So having said that, don't equate seeking distribution to seeking, acknowledgement.
Talent. Okay.
From Hollywood. They're two different things. Yeah. We're not asking them to put us in their films. We're not asking them to come in and be in our films. We're saying we have the numbers, but we don't have the screens. That was exactly what I said. Lagos enough has numbers. We have people But how many people can fit one cinema in Silverbird? How many screens? It's not enough. Usually you should be able to find on one strip in Ojuelegba 3 cinemas. We don't have it. People in Ojuelegba have to come all the way to the island or go to Ikeja or go to the mall to watch a film. You're losing numbers because, first of all, they're going to have to consider transportation. And then what if they're not coming alone? They're going to have to consider a ticket for 2. So saying that we want investors, we don't care if the investors are from Hollywood, Bollywood, or whatever, but we're saying that Nollywood needs the ground to open up to more eyeballs so that we can be content to depend on our own people. Because we're not changing ourselves. We're not going to tell a different story from what we know, from what we're used to. We're not going to lose ourselves and our genuinity as Africans. But what it is, at the end of the day, it's pointless to spend that money on, like you said, work, 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 if there is no money coming back.
Okay. I also think it depends on where you want to play, you know. It depends on your dream. It depends on how far you want to fly. David Oyelowo is a Nigerian, all right? And if he comes here now, it will be difficult for any of us to even have one-on-one with him. Look, it's a business, and it's a structure. Slumdog Millionaire, yes, there were no big actors and all of that.
In Bollywood?
But apart from that, it was a co-production. All right? Yeah, wait. Co-production is one of the major things that we need, okay? And if you're doing co-production, of course, the studio will say to us, okay, what is the bait? Why should we, where's the number? Show me the numbers.
Yeah.
Then I can say to them, I have 180 million people in Nigeria. I have 20-something million people in Lagos. But in the entire Nigeria, as we speak, we have less than 30 cinemas.
Yeah.
Serving almost 200 million people.
Yeah. Because it's an investment and people expect to get their money back.
You know,
business
so
for them.
what I always advocate, you know, is that those who, because exhibition is one, content creation is one, all right? If we continue to make the film, and because sincerely, if OC is one of the most outstanding actors from Nigeria, can we give him a round of applause? Good. If you put OC Okj, and I put some Kelly, your beautiful self, I put Genevieve, I put Ramsey, and all of those people, and I take it to a sales agent or a distributor, and I say, oh, can you help me sell this? I know the film will do well in Nigeria because we have locked down Nigeria. We've conquered Nigeria. But it costs us, it takes nothing away from us if we have the other markets. And if we open it up and say, okay, what will you offer? They will tell me, Americans won't recognize this, which is why that language barrier you mentioned, all right, which is why they will go and bring Denzel Washington to play the guy from Ibadan, and they will teach him the accent, and he will murder the accent. But really, they don't care because that is the market. So I think what we should be advocating for really is, look, Nigeria is a gold mine. Lagos is there, is a hub. We have the people who have cinema culture, and they're looking for, they're looking to go out. These 29 cinemas that we have now were built within the short period of 4 years. And there was a local film that grossed almost $1 million like 2 years ago from less than 10 screens. So if we're able to make that number from that from less than 10 screens, then you can imagine what the films would do if we have more screens. So we're here, we make good films, we're ready to partner. Bring Denzel, pair him with Genevieve, and bring OC with Tanda Newton or someone, And I think we'll get there.
But having said that,
Yeah.
we still have to do our bit, which is be the kind of people that people want to partner with. And that's what we're doing with the kind of products that we're focusing on, hence New Nollywood.
Yeah.
With the kind of productions Kunle has come up with Roti yesterday, with a lot of other productions being churned out now by really, really amazing, talented people. By the time you put your production house, you put your company out there on the world map of filmmaking, the right person will come who will feel, okay, I need to do a collaborative, yes, that's what I'm saying. I need to collaborate with, but you see, if they can't find you, they can get lost. Nobody wants to get duped. And basically, we need structure. We need to be able to say, well, this is the right film house to go to for this kind of idea, for this genre of film, based on, oh, you want an art house film? Well, these people, blah, 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 and then they have a website you can go to. So we are trying to structure ourselves and be the kind of people that would attract serious investors and serious movie houses coming from Bollywood or Hollywood or wherever. And when I say Bollywood or Hollywood, because the truth of the matter is, the only one thing that I think we all have in common is the interest. It doesn't matter where you're coming from, art is art. Filmmaking is filmmaking. And we definitely need help in terms of how much we spend on the kind of productions that we do, because we can't get the money back on our own. Hence the collaboration, because by the time we collaborate with a film house from Hollywood, what happens is that we have access to their cinemas, and then we get our money back. It has nothing to do with getting acknowledgement or seeking approval. No, we want to have access to how you make money.
There are numbers.
But we don't want to lose the essence of who we are, because at the end of the day, your art needs to be, the work has to still be right. Okay. Because that's the basis of everything else that comes with it. And that's why we will not, in other words, sell ourselves short.
I think somebody's got a mic who's been waiting patiently.
Hello, Mr. Afolayan and Ms. Genevieve. Hi. So, Kunle, you spoke a little bit ago about, building the CEO in such a way that you could distribute it across the continent of Africa and cinemas across Africa. What happened with that? Why was that not successful as of yet?
Yeah, because there are no cinemas in those other countries, and I was hoping that, Nigeria is the country with the largest number of cinemas, apart from South Africa. I was targeting South Africa. They have, South Africa is like Europe, so a lot of times when people say South Africa is Africa, it's because they have like 500 cinemas, or more. And that's why I use the South African actor. We're still talking to sales agent. They are interested, we're discussing. But, in Kenya, for example, they have less than 5 or less than 10. But Nigeria is where things are happening now. In Lagos, you have more than 10, cinemas. So cinemas are springing up like every day, but
not fast enough.
Yeah, well, what can you do? The truth is, it's like if you're talking to an investor, you need to convince them. Mm-hmm. Now it's easy to convince the investor because you have numbers. It's like making a film. If you want to talk to an investor and you're like, oh, I'm making this amazing film, and they will say, okay, show me sales projection. Yes. Show me what you have done before. And if you have no record, then it takes you nowhere. So cinema-wise, distribution-wise, and content generation-wise, we seem to have some sort of structure now, that can be presented to anywhere in the world because you have numbers, to quote and all of that. I'm still waiting for Netflix, to make me an offer.
Anyone from Netflix?
Yeah, okay. Funa is in the room, so I'm hoping we'll talk right after this. But sincerely, because really, apart from Netflix being one of the available, platform, because you're not making a film to be seen by yourself, and aside the money making, you want people to see the film, and if the film is October 1. Was gotten by Netflix, and it was subtitled in 10 languages. And for me, that is phenomenal because, after their exploration, I get my content back, and I get to keep my content, in 10 languages, and, forever. I can always distribute to other platforms, and I think that is something that is great, but all I would like to establish here is Lagos, Nigeria, and Nigeria entirely is a gold mine. Anybody who comes in, because this is the time to come in. There's a particular cinema in Ikeja, and Ikeja is a highly populated area. And this cinema in a day sometimes generates about $100,000, one cinema. So you can imagine if we have 100 units of that. You can imagine what, and this $100,000 is from one title. And they have like 6 screens in that cinema. They do Hollywood films and all of that. So if you put all of the revenue generated together, you imagine how much you'll be generating in Nigeria. So it's a game of number.
It's a game of, really a game of demand and supply. We have created the demand. The supply is where we're kind of lacking, and we can't do that alone. It's just that simple.
I think we have time for one more question.
First of all, I just want to say that I'm really big fans of both you. I'm the director and also like Genevieve. And it's great that we are able to speak at this level about what we've done. But as somebody who grew up on Nigerian films, I grew up in Nigeria. The first film that I saw was Living in Bondage, and then to see this now. So even though we're having a discussion about how to get this even farther out, when I look at that clip and then I look at this last one that I saw, for me, it's very impressive. And the frustration is because Nigerians are very ambitious and won't settle for number 2 or number 3 and are going for number 1, and that's amazing. One question I wanted to ask, and this is for both you, Kunle, and also Genevieve, is that the piracy has impacted how much, let's say, DVDs or CDs were able to be sold, but at the same time, in a way, it has been almost like an advertising tool, but which allowed the stories, like my Jamaican friends know who Nkemowo is, like, for example. It's allowed, but these are unique Nigerian stories. When you now begin to push into the international market intentionally, do you feel the pressure to change the kind of stories you're telling?
Okay. You want to go first?
I really think it's relative. It depends on who the producer is. Every product really is I think it's, for me, it says a lot about whoever the producer is. I think at the end of the day, there's a genre of films out there, and there are different stories, and we're not going to tell the same stories for the same reason. Roti yesterday. I don't know if, have you seen it? Have you seen Roti yesterday? Yes. Roti yesterday. Not yet. You should see it. It's on Netflix. It is a simple story. It's a simple love story told in a different way. What we need to improve on is probably the plotting of how we tell stories. But our stories are the same. And again, there are those people who are going to feel the need to bring a foreigner into their film to attract foreign audiences. And there are those people, like me, who believe we just need to use our local arts and be true to us and be authentic in our storytelling. And people are going to identify with the authenticity, because I want to see a French movie in French. You know what I mean? And we cannot generalize how a movie is created and how it's done in any industry at all. It's not just Nollywood. People, you're going to get the good and the bad, which is why you can say there's a Living in Bondage, but there is also a movie called, I will not be mentioning names, but there are also bad movies out there that also make it out there mainstream. Now, are you going to judge one by the other? You know, so it's really dependent on who is producing and who the brain is behind this. Now, I think New Nollywood is really about the brains behind the products now and how they're they intend to progress and what they feel is necessary and what their primary focus is on. But trust me, Nollywood, I'm proud of my industry. I don't intend to be anything less or more. I mean, I can be more, but I don't intend to be anything less than who I am and what I represent. And so I don't intend to lose that in any movie that we produce as 10.
Yeah, for me, as a filmmaker, I think it is your call to, at different point in time, decide who you're making the film for. Sometimes you can say, I'm only making this film for the people of Lagos. Sometimes you can say, oh, this film is just for Nigerians. And sometimes you say, I want to go Africa or I want to go global. And that would determine the kind of budget, the kind of resources, who you talk to, who you use in the film, the crew, the cast, that determines, all of these things. When I made my first film, titled Irakwada, in 2006, what I wanted to do was, I looked at, the industry is segregated. Some people are making Yoruba-speaking films. Some people are making English-speaking films. And I said, I don't want to be seen as either Yoruba filmmaker or English filmmaker. I just want to be seen as a filmmaker. All right? So I brought tribes, people from different tribes, of Nigeria, and I put them in the film. And, I changed, a lot of the plotting. And when the film was done, it premiered at the London Film Festival. It premiered at the Pan-Africa Film Festival in Los Angeles and quite a number of other festivals because it was different from what people were used to, in Nigeria. When I made Figurine in 2009, I remember I met Cameron Cameron Bailey in Cannes. And he saw the clips of the film and he said, oh, this is, I've never seen anything like this from Nigeria. And I'm like, yes, that's the point, But, after all of that, I completed the film, I submitted, they saw it. I'm like, oh, it's so great. But all of this but ended now, and I'm glad that, maybe subsequently our film, even if we're not in focus, maybe independent films, from that region can now get fair, treatment, somehow. I really look forward to that. But in terms of, when you talk of commercial content, there are so many elements that determine the success of the content. And who is in the film is one major factor, and the territory and the story. And, so for me as a filmmaker, somehow I have conquered Nigeria, and I think it's time to start tap into those resources from outside, all right? It's not gonna affect my creativity in any way. I just want to be able to tell universal stories. We have cross-border. People travel from Nigeria to America. People come from Mexico, to Europe. It's just, I see a lot of Hollywood films, and a lot of time I question what's going on. But at the end of the day, it's business, all right? You look at the lines up. I mean, you look at the lineup, the TIFF lineup. Look at the kind of promotion the Hollywood films are giving to their films. Look at the road, look at the billboards, and all of that. Why would anybody want to invest that kind of fund in a film that they're not even sure of, what it's going to generate? So it has to be balanced. In as much as we want to retain, for me, as much as we want to retain our Africanism and we want to be proud of who we are, I think we've gotten to the point where we need to start understanding the universal language of film. And the universal language of film is what will take us to the next level.
Okay. And I know, I'm so...
I don't settle for two either. I'm an actress here in Canada.
We are out of time, so can you make it very short, please?
I'm an actress here in Canada. I'm Olunike. And for a long time, I've been researching Nollywood like crazy. I'm big in Hollywood and all of that thing. But what I want to do is to be a part of my own country. And I went to Nigeria for a month over the holidays, trying to find a way to connect there with the Nollywood movers and shakers. And when I heard that you were coming into my backyard, that's why I'm here today, not at 76 watching the film, but here to ask you both if you can be my mentors tangibly.
Okay, like that.
Into Nollywood. Tangibly, my mentors. I am also a person who takes direction very well.
Yeah.
And whatever you can do to guide me,
Okay, so
I accept that.
maybe you guys talk after, but I admire the pitch. But I have been told we are out of time, and I'm really sorry, because I know there's a lot more questions out there and a lot more comments. Go see all these films in the City to City program, and there's another discussion here tomorrow at 2:30 about Nigerian cinema, so I encourage people to come to that. We could have talked for about 5 more hours, but thank you so much for all your insight.
Yeah, can I just say that my latest film, The CEO, is showing tomorrow. It's a private screening. It's an industry screening, 6:15 at Screen 6. So if you're an industry, yes, Screen 6. So it's 6:15. If you're a distributor, sales agent, and you're interested in African cinema, we'll meet there tomorrow. Thank you
so much.